Hello everyone. On this special broadcast on NDTV, I am being joined by a very renowned author of Babur the Chessboard King, which continues to be a best-selling till now. Welcome and congratulations, Aabhas Maldahiyar. My first question to you would be Babur the Chessboard King. You have very cleverly chosen the title of this book. Tell us the story behind it and also throw some light on why Babur never managed to be a stable king.
Thank you, Aditi, for having me here. And as you rightly said that, of course, the title was chosen very cleverly. And at the same time, it also happens that this title was not given by me, but this title rather to Babur was given by somebody who is known as Farishta, a great Muslim historian of around 16th, 17th century. And he called Babur so because actually he saw Babur as somebody who could not consolidate his territories. He would always have one territory at a time. And the people who played the chess would know that king is somebody who is not a very powerful one in all the reality. But if the king is gone, the game is over. And what a king would do on the chessboard, it would just go 45 degrees left, right, rear, and the back. And that's all a king can do. Likewise, Babur's life was almost like that. It was so that he would gain Samarkand, and then he will get to know that he is losing Andijan. While he was moved towards Andijan to regain it, again he will get to know that the Samarkand is gone. And by the time he reaches Andijan, he'll get to know that even Andijan is lost. Then he will further like to stay somewhere close to Andijan so that he can still take a control of it, but it does not happen. Then he will move to some other place. So somehow life of Babur till the time he reaches Kabul has always been with one territory at a time, and he could never become a very powerful king that way. And it so was the case that because all of us have always heard the good things about the Timurids, as I call them, not the Mughals, because this is not a very right term to call them as a Mughals. And so we have always seen them in very esteemed and pristine light, but reality was much more different. And I got the reality check once upon a time when I came across something about the economic policies and how actually they made the life of the people miserable compared to like how it has been portrayed. And then I began to look into them from economic perspective to start with. And then I got furthermore, and then I was advised by very good well-wishers that if you have already done a lot of research around it, why not start with the book itself? And so it is Babur to start with, but I'm looking to go ahead with its sequel of Babur would come, and then Akbar and Humayun and so on and on.
You know, while reading your book, I realized that you made an observation about Babur having similar traits as of Timur, who was a 14th century ruler, in regards to the skull towers that they both built using heads of their enemies.
Yeah, and in fact, it takes you back to one more point that they never called themselves as Mughals. They called themselves as Timurid Gurkhaniyas. And when you say that Babur founded Mughal Empire, it is factually wrong because there was no Mughal Empire in India. And Babur was always inspired by Taimur because he is one of the great grandfather of him. And when he was growing and he had lost his father at the age of 11, his grandmother would tell him the stories of Taimur. And he always had this dream in the mind that I have to fulfill everything what Taimur could not fulfill. And it happens that when you're growing and the stories what you hear in the childhood, they have very strong impression upon you, and you tend to be somebody whom you have always been seen like inspiration. And it was very Central Asian method of teaching people a lesson whom you hate or who are your enemies, that you behead them and make the tower of the heads, which later on became the skulls because the muscles and everything will be gone, so only a skull would be left. And Babur made the skull towers or the towers of the head not only of the Hindus but also of the Muslims. But there were certain differences that against the Hindus he called it a direct jihad, and but when he was slaughtering the Muslims, say in Afghanistan, he killed a lot of Afghans actually. And it becomes so interesting that he says and writes in a diary that even if they choose to surrender, but because they did not surrender initially, I was very fed up of them, so I choose to behead them. And then he makes a count that today I chopped around 200 heads and I made a tower out of them. And just imagine the psyche of this man, that whatever he's writing, it's a diary. Babar Nama is basically a diary. In the evening, he comes after all this, after having done all this thing, and then suddenly he says that, that I have beheaded so many people. This is the account of it. And he's writing couplets about it. That poetic trait of him never dies away. He's always writing poems.
Thank you so much, Aabhas, for speaking to NDTV on this special broadcast.